When you think about the drivers of chaos right now, is the U.S.-China relationship the primary driver of decoupling, of confrontation, or are there others that are deeper, that are more systemic inside our societies that you're more worried about?
I think that we are in a kind of a transition situation before we look into the Chinese-U.S. relationship. We had the bipolar world, then we had the unipolar world with one only superpower, the United States. The 90s, I was Prime Minister of Portugal. I have witnessed very clearly. And then we moved into a situation that tends to be multipolar, but it's not yet multipolar. It's rather chaotic, in power relations becoming less and less clear. And it is in this context that in itself is a driver of chaos that we have now the two largest economic powers. Russia is still a bigger military power than China, but the two largest economic powers that risk to create a big rupture. And I say risk, I think we are not yet there. We are in a process that is still unpredictable, and we'll have to see what happens in the next 2 or 3 years to have a clear perspective of it. But the risk is there. And the risk is the risk to have two economies, with two sets of trade rules, with two internets, with two different strategies for artificial intelligence, with two dominant currencies, and then to move based on that into two geostrategic and military dimensions that could lead one day to a confrontation. I think we are still on time to avoid it. And I do still believe that it would be possible, looking now even beyond the United States, looking into the United States, Europe, Japan, and the so-called Western world that to a certain extent shaped the economic relations of the past. I still think it's possible for this group of countries to look to China, to recognize that the rules that were established when China entered the World Trade Organization were rules that were still based on China seen as a developing country. So indeed, there are a number of areas in relation to intellectual property, in relation to trade itself, in relation to access investment, access to finance, in which we need some rebalancing in these relations. And I do believe that if the US, Europe, Japan, if these countries would come to China and say, look, there is a system that to a certain extent is unbalanced in your favor because of the way it was designed 1 or 2 decades ago, there is a time we need to renegotiate these and to have a more balanced system in which in all these questions there is a set of rules that we all will be able to share. Then if that will happen, I think it will be possible. And I think China is ready to engage in this discussion. It will be possible to move into a situation in which we have one global economy with one set of rules and with, I would say, trust being built to create conditions for, in the most delicate aspects, and the most delicate aspects are related to technology, in my opinion, artificial intelligence, all these questions, in those aspects, to have the possibility to have one single world and not the decoupling you were mentioning. Because if we decouple everything, in the end, there is a risk of confrontation that is very, very dangerous.